there, crafty friends, it's Tina from the Scrappin Rabbit blog, and I have a project to share with you guys, as well as a process video of how I put everything together. So I made this little topper for this Godiva limited birthday cake truffles. Don't those look yummy? And I also made a cute little birthday card, and so I went ahead and filmed as I put it together. So let me go ahead and share with you how I put this together. So first of all, I'm going to be using the Hate Cupcake stamp set for that little sentiment there. I'm also going to be using the Num Num sentiment set, Enjoy Num Num, and Sweet Wishes for a Fantastic Birthday. I'm going to be using the images of the cake as well as the little truffles for the topper, and the sweet faces to go with the Gimme Desserts stamps. Put the little faces on there. And I did cut out the little scalloped circle to stamp the cake on. And what I did was I used my stamping tool. I'm going to powder it up, align my stamps, and I'm going to stamp and emboss using the VersaFine black ink, which stamps beautifully. And I do love my stamping tool just in case it doesn't come out perfect. I don't have to worry about me messing up a project, especially when I have using a pre-cut panel with the die. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the little face on there before I add the embossing powder. And I'm going to heat emboss it using some clear embossing powder. And I just keep that handy on my desk at all times. Tap off the excess, and then it's ready to go. And I just love the way that that looks. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the little truffles, the little chocolates. They're so cute. And I'm just going to move my stamp around so that I can get a few. I'm trying to color more than what I need just in case I do mess up. And so in this case I want to use 2 for my topper, but I'm going to go ahead and do 4 of them just so that in case anything goes awry, I have a backup plan and I don't have to start over. And it's also nice to have some colored images on hand, just in case I need to do a fast project. So here I am heat embossing that, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the little faces, and I'm picking them out. Which ones do I want to use? And I'm going to use 4 different ones, and I just think that they're so cute. I love all the little kawaii faces. So once I have them all on my stamping tool, I'll go ahead and add the ink, get those stamped onto their little faces, and use the embossing powder again, and use my heat tool to go ahead and melt that embossing powder. I went ahead and cut out a panel using the Stitch Square dies, and I'm using some Doodlebug design papers, and I want to go ahead and stamp that sentiment Num Num Enjoy on there. And so I'm going to be doing that on the bottom half of that square, since it's going to be folded over for the layer on the topper to go over the candies. And I love this sentiment. I think that it stamps wonderfully, and I think it looks perfect when it's embossed. And it just gives a little bit more dimension, and it just adds a little extra something to my projects. I use the card mat die to cut out a layer for the inside panel of my card. I'm trying to do the insides with the outsides so that I don't forget and run out of time at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and put that sentiment, that big pretty sentiment in there, and I'm going to also add a little tiny cupcake in there as well. And so once I have that aligned where I want, I'm going to go ahead and ink it up and get the embossing powder on there and heat emboss it. And I'm trying to get all my stamping done now in the beginning so that I don't have to worry about pulling all this stuff out again. So once I have that stamped, get the powder on there, and then go ahead and get my heat tool. And then now it's time to go ahead and color up my images. I'm going to use the lightest Ys that I have, and I really wish that I had a lighter one. So that's probably on my wish list, is to get a lighter color. So I'm going to use the darker one around the edges, come in with my Y00, and then I'm going to try to buff it out a little bit using my 0 blending pen. and I'm still not happy with that. I'm gonna go in with some YR31 around the edges to give it a little bit more depth. Then I'm gonna blend it out with my blender pen right there. And then I feel like I do need to bring the Y to the center, so I'm gonna do the Y00 and then try to soften it up using my blender pen. And adding some RVs, 32 and RV10 for the little cheeks. And then for the frosting, I'm going to use my cool grays. I'm going to go in with the C0, blend it out with the C00, and then again buff it out with my blender pen and the colorless blender just to soften it up a bit. And then I feel like I want to add some sprinkles to go with that pattern paper, the Doodlebug pattern paper for that top layer of the topper. So I'm going to add some different pink dots, some blue dots, some green dots, and that YR31 looks kind of orangey, and then add some violet dots to go with the papers that I'm using. It's time to color up the little truffles, and I'm going to start with my darkest color, the E59, just to kind of go where the darker shadows are going to be, and I'm just going to do all 4 of these at the same time because there's nothing really tricky about the coloring here. I'm just going to be adding different layers of the colors and blending it all towards the center of all of the little chocolates. And so I go in with my darkest, and then I'm going to blend it out with my medium color, the E25. And so I'm going to go ahead and play some music while I finish coloring up these truffles. So I went ahead and finished the other 2 off camera, and I'm adding some of the cheeks using the same RVs that I did for the little cake. And then for the little tongue and the little kiss heart, I'm going to use 3 different reds, a dark, medium, and a light, just to kind of give it a little blended look. And then I'm going to clean up my paper so that I can cut those out. I felt like I wanted my cake to be sitting on something, so I'm adding a shadow using my warm grays to give it a little bit more of a pop so it's not just floating in the air. And then now that I have that done, I'm going to cut them out. So I used the scalloped square dies from Jaded Blossom, and I just used the biggest square for my topper and the biggest stitched square for the layer. I'm going to score that square in half and go ahead and adhere it to the top of my topper using my ATG gun. And then once I have that on there, I'm going to glue one of the little truffles towards the back, and then I will pop up that second truffle using some double-sided adhesive foam tape to give it a little bit of a pop so that it sticks up and gives it a little bit more dimension. And then once I have that done, I'm going to use some strong adhesive to go right across the top of my bag, and then I'm going to go ahead and set that topper right on top of it. And I think that it just adds a fun little presentation, personalize it a little bit more, and then to have that coordinating card. I'm going to use this layer from the card layer dies too, and I'm going to emboss a white panel to adhere it to. And then once I have that together, I'm going to go ahead and adhere it to a panel of pink paper that is just slightly bigger than that layer that you cut out with the card mat dies. And I'm just going to adhere that to my card base, add that decorative panel there on the front. And then once I have that on there, I'm going to add some double-sided adhesive foam onto that scallop circle panel to pop that on there. And just to give it a little extra something, I'm going to use these doodlebug shaped heart sprinkles and decorate that little center panel. And once I have that on there, I think that it adds the finishing touch. I forgot to color that little cupcake, so just real quick, I'm going to use my RV10 and my RV34 and some yellows to do the little cupcake wrapper. And then once I have that done, it's going to be good to go to the inside of my card panel. And I'll go ahead and I'll use my ATG gun to add that adhesive and get that going to add that inside my card. And that finishes up my project, except for I wanted to add a few more sprinkles to that topper to just coordinate better with my card. And then you know me with my sparkle, I needed to add some sparkle to that frosting and then to the top of my little truffles. So adding a little sparkle to their little truffle hair. And that finishes up my project. So that is it, you guys. I want to thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate you stopping by my channel. I hope you liked my process video. Go ahead and leave me a comment, and I appreciate your thumbs up. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And until next time, happy crafting, everyone. Bye-bye.